Hello, we are in Chapter 4, Section 4.9, Synthetic Division of Polynomials. In this video, we are going to learn about this useful technique. Let's review the long division diagram for an example from the previous section. We were dividing a trinomial by a binomial, and we want to rewrite that a little bit differently. Instead of saying x plus 2, we will say x minus negative 2 in the divisor. And for all of the red ones, we already distributed the negatives so that we can simply perform addition. Now notice that this first coefficient of the quotient 2 simply was the original leading coefficient of the dividend, since we were dividing just by x, so 2 over 1 was 2. And then the 3, the constant term of the quotient, was the leading coefficient of that other dividend that we obtained later. Now notice that that 3 in here was 7 minus 4, and that negative 4 was the product of that 2 and that negative 2 in here. And that gave us the 3. Also, if we multiply that 3 by negative 2, that gives us this negative 6. And if we add it to 7, then we get the 1 at the bottom, which in this case was actually the remainder. So now we are going to organize our synthetic division diagram to acknowledge all of those numbers properly in the following way. First, we write down the coefficients of the original dividend. Then on the left of it, we will write the number negative 2 behind the minus in the divisor. That must be of the form x minus a number. Then we bring that leading coefficient of the dividend 2 down and multiply it by that number negative 2 right underneath the next coefficient 7. Add those two together to get 3, multiply that by negative 2, right under the last coefficient, and add again to give us 1. And that completes our synthetic division diagram. And we acknowledge that these numbers in the last row, except for the last one, give us the coefficients of the quotient of our division. The numbers negative 4 and negative 6 in the second row came from those red numbers that we were adding, and the remainder is 1 at the end of the diagram. And since the quotient of our division is of degree 1 less than the degree of the original dividend, we get 2x plus 3 as the quotient. We will now do another example to make sure we understand the procedure. Notice that in this example, our divisor is of the form x minus a number, and we can also say that we are dividing that divisor into the dividend. We must acknowledge that our dividend is missing 1 power of x, the second power, and since we need all the coefficients in the synthetic division diagram, we add that extra term of 0x squared to have them all. And now we create our synthetic division diagram. We first bring down all the coefficients of our dividend and the number 3 behind the minus in the divisor. Then we take that leading coefficient down, multiply by the number 3 associated with the divisor, and place that product under the next coefficient of the dividend. We add the numbers in this column and multiply that 3 by the 3 from the divisor, put it under the 0, add the numbers again. 9 times 3 is 27, that plus 1 is 28, 28 times 3 is 84, and that plus negative 5 is 79. And that completes our synthetic division diagram. The orange numbers in the last row give us the coefficients of the quotient, which is of 1 degree less than the original dividend, so of degree 3. Therefore, we have these powers of x, that's our quotient altogether, and the last number in the last row, 79, is our remainder. We write the result of the division of the dividend by the divisor as the quotient plus the remainder over the divisor as always. And that completes our division process using synthetic division.